So I recently did a live stream where I talked with a bunch of artists and upcoming artists about a lot of stuff in the industry. And one question that I got quite a lot was, okay, what about my portfolio? How do I set that up and how do I present myself in the best possible way to get the job? That's what this video is about. Here we go. Right guys, well like I said in the intro, I did a live stream a while back where I talked to a bunch of artists and upcoming artists about the importance of portfolio work, and as a result I got a specific question to do a video on what makes a strong portfolio and what you need to take into account to make that portfolio help you to get a job or your next job, right? Now, before we get started, a huge thank you to Henry Cervenka, known as 3D Viper on ArtStation. I consider Henry a good friend and an amazing artist, so Henry, thank you very, very much for that, right? Okay, so first of all, we're on ArtStation. Is that the place to be when it comes to a portfolio? Well, it seems so. Most people that I know that are in 3D have their portfolio on ArtStation, but it's not limited to. So if you, for example, want to have a demo reel on YouTube, or you got a specific website page or Facebook page, that's fine, as long as you make sure that the content you have on there is strong and people can find it, okay? So that's about location. Now, what should you put onto your portfolio? That heavily depends on what you want. Now, what I mean by that is, as a 3D artist, you are basically telling a story. You're telling a story in your work, but you're also telling a story about yourself when you have an interview. So an art director or a studio boss that has an interview with you will want you to tell a story through your portfolio. So if I were to look at your portfolio, I need to get an understanding of who you are and not just what you make. So, for example, if you're an environmental artist, you are going to post environmental work. That makes sense, right? Now, should you post all of your work or just the very best stuff? Obviously, the latter. You don't want to, spam a portfolio with, 500 different pieces. Just post the very, very, very best, and post work that is closest in line with what you want to get hired for. Now, should you adjust a portfolio based on the interview? Well, I certainly would. Let's say I am getting interviewed for example, let's say for character modeling work, you would want to have a strong character portfolio. So that ties into the discussion, should you have just an ArtStation page or should you make something specific for the customer? I would really do both. I would have a generic portfolio online and make a very specific, to the point portfolio for the client. Reason for that is that an art director is going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces, and that's not necessarily a thing they like doing most. But if you can get your message across in, let's say, 10 pieces, that will certainly help. When I look at work, it's usually about why wouldn't I hire you instead of why would I. So if I were to view 10 of your pieces and I find that 3 of them are really weak, that would kind of put me off. But if you have, let's say, 5 posted and they're all really strong, I wouldn't see a reason to exclude you, if you know what I mean, right? Okay, so you consider what type of work, you consider how many pieces you post. But what do you post exactly? Do you post the beauty pass or do you do more than that? Well, let's look at a couple of examples posted by Henry here and I'll give you an idea. So looking at this train right here, this steam locomotive, and this is an absolutely amazing piece. And I think even the ZBrush website posted on it, they thought it was amazing too. And you can see it's almost photorealistic. Now, one thing you can ask yourself, is the studio, for example, that you're applying for a job for, are they into photorealism? Maybe they do games exclusively, and maybe they're all very cartoony. So even if you have a killer piece like this, it doesn't necessarily mean that that fits into what they're looking for. So keep that in mind, right? But in this case, this is Henry's style and he's really good at it. What he did is he posted the object from a couple of angles. And what he also did is he incorporated a lot of things that I've included in other videos about, for example, framing and composition and lighting. Okay, so you see these little small details here, like there's little curves and bends in the rails here in the bottom, and some leading lines in the video, in the photo, and I did a video on that recently. Here you see the same object from a different angle. Got some foliage going on here, some bushes and gravel, some mountains in the backdrop there. Here's a non-textured version to get a good idea of how everything is structured, and then down here is a line flow. So if I see a piece like this, I have a very good understanding of what the skills of the artist are, and I can basically see everything I would want to see from this point of view, right? So let's look at another one. Let's say we'll do a character. So let's look at Clancy the Cowboy. Now, I know this piece quite well. I looked at it a lot, and here, scrolling down, you can see with the textured and the non-textured version that there's a very huge difference. And you can see how detailed that is, right? You see the tiny little smudges on the shirt. You see, if you look at the corner of the eyes, if you look at the coat, so much detail. Now, that tells me that the artist that made this is somebody who is not easily satisfied and will go to great lengths to create those details, okay? So, let's see, what else? Props, for example. We got this excavator, I think. We got the weapon. We got this, this tool right here. This tells me that the artist is very diverse. Can create props, can create, you know, characters, and so forth. Now, this one specifically I want to point out because this is a piece that Henry actually made for my 3D modeling challenge as a thumbnail. And if you look at how much is going on here, it's amazing. Now, scrolling down, you can see that again, this is very much his style. It's basically photorealistic. But even going down further, you can see the entire line flow. So as a hiring art director, this would basically answer all my questions even before I asked them. But what about the human element? What about your character, your style? Now that's something you take into an interview, of course. This is just part of your story. Once you get contacted or you get invited for an interview, they will kind of continue based on the work that they have seen. And everything you tell them should be in line with the story you want to tell. So if you are, for example, an environmental artist, you will be working together a lot with other people. Now, if you go into the interview and you tell them you're a loner and you like to work alone, that's obviously going to be a problem. So keep in mind what they would want to hear. I'll put a link below to that live stream I did where we talked about this in length. And hopefully that will help you to get a better understanding, okay? So, like I said, I can go on and on and on about this, but, just to recap this, make sure that you only post your very best pieces. Make sure they're in line with what the studio or the hiring party is doing. So, if they're looking for a game artist, and it's in cartoon style, try to incorporate work that is in line with that. Make sure you display several steps of your process. So do a wireframe, do a shaded, do a textured, okay? Now, that's basically it for this video, guys. I'll put a link below to that stream, and I'll put my email address below. So if you have specific questions about your portfolio, want me to have a look or need some tips, please let me know and I'll be happy to help, okay? Well, that's it for this video, guys. Try to make it not too long. Hopefully it was helpful. Let me know if it was. And that said, thank you guys for watching and see you guys next time. Bye.